Okay, so normally I put these on I just do this on a bench grinder, but my workbench is still folded down. I need to sell that trailer. So what I did is basically I filed down the black paint. The black paint's what was keeping it from going in, the black paint that they put on here. So I just filed that off of there. Sometimes you have to do that on these pads for some reason. And it's usually only the advanced pads that I have that problem with. But that's pretty minor. That's a pretty minor issue. He's inside. Sorry, my kid's in the background. That's a pretty minor issue though, because the pads are really good pads. See, it went right in, snuck right in there. So there you go, there's the brake pads. Now what we're gonna do, I'll move the camera over. This is my workbench for right now, a little step stool. So once you have this on here like this, the easiest thing to do is go ahead and put it on the car with the pads on it. Now let me mention this right here real quick so I don't forget. I know I'm gonna get people say, oh, don't pinch off your brake lines. Well, my wife had to take the calipers with her, so there was no core charge for my neighbor. So I had no choice, I had to pinch them off. I pinched them off very, very easy because you don't wanna crush your brake line because there is actually a plastic line inside of this rubber line. If you crush that, you're in trouble. So you gotta really know what you're doing if you're gonna do that. So I wouldn't really recommend doing that. But I do it all the time if I have to do it, I should say. At work, very rarely do I have to do it at work. Normally what I do at work is if we get a caliper in that needs to be replaced, we'll get the caliper in, get the new one there, and what I'll do is I'll hang it over here. I'll put the new caliper bracket and everything on right here, and then I'll take the line off that one and hurry up and put it on this one, and don't have to worry about pinching any lines off or anything like that. So what I'm doing now is I put the bracket on, and I'm putting the 17mm bolts, caliper bracket bolts, mounting bolts, in the back of it. And I normally do these with an impact, but I can't on this one because my impact won't fit the way that strut is. And remember me telling you in the last video about this, or when I did my tool video, this Cornwell. I think it finally just gave up the ghost. Oh, there we go, it's working again. Thing's a piece of junk. Don't ever buy a Cornwell ratchet. These have locking washers on them, so you just need to get them good and snug. Make sure they're tight. I mean, you don't want them coming off. Make sure they're good and snug. There's the top one. The bottom one I could put the impact on, but I want to make sure these are even. So I'll just do it like this. Long-winded bolts. And this ratchet is a piece of junk. I need to get a new one for the house. My wife just rolled her eyes at me. She's behind you guys right now. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is you want lubrication right here, and you want to put lubrication on the piston face itself. That's going to stop the squealing. You can do it either way. You can either put it on the pad first, front and back, or I just put them on here. So what we're going to do, we're going to grease this up. Hoping I'm getting this in the video. It's not easy to figure out if you're getting stuff in the screen while you're doing it live. Or not live, but like this. Is it getting in there? I don't know why I'm shaking so much. Okay, so there we go. And now I'm gonna put this on before I even put the line on. That'll make putting the line on a lot easier. And these are just the 14mm caliper mounting bolts that mount into the slides. Another thing about doing this video I didn't get to show you since I'm replaced the calipers. Normally you take the slides out once the bracket's off, clean them off, and put new grease, which I put this on, or any type of caliper grease on the slides. But you don't want to over grease it, because if you over grease it, it causes that pin to come out, keeps that caliper pushed back. That keeps this front pad stuck on the caliper all the time. So just remember, not too much grease, just enough so it will slide freely. just snug. That's all you want. Don't go all He-Man on it, end up stripping it or breaking the bolt. There we go. Now, let's put the line on. I'm not gonna be able to get the camera back there. I need to get a GoPro. See, now she's shaking her head at me saying no. I need to get a GoPro. I could put it right back here. Because my camera, I'm using my Canon. It's a great camera, but it's too big to put back there. So you're gonna, I can't see the screen.
Fine.
I know, but I need to make sure. 2 copper washers right here on this banjo bolt, the bleeder bolt, or the brake line bolt. See, it's got the little hole right here. So the copper washer is going to be on both sides of it to keep fluid from leaking out externally. That's what that hole's for, is what puts fluid into the caliper. And on this line specifically, it actually has this little, I don't even know what you want to call that, but there's a hole in the back of the caliper for that to go in. So you really can't put it in wrong. You got 1 copper seal up here. You're going to hold this copper seal right here on by hand. Get it started. And these are aluminum calipers, and you can strip those very, very easy. And if you do, they won't take them back. You'll have to buy another caliper, and then you're stuck with a caliper. They may change the bolt size. It's 11. Nice and snug. Do not overdo it. I can't see back there. Gotta make sure we're good. Nope, it's not. That little pin that I was just showing you did not go in the hole right. This caliper, this thing sucks. Have to get me a snap-on one for the house. I wouldn't have this problem with a snap-on tool. There we go. See, I almost messed up right here on camera. It wouldn't be the first time, trust me. Get in a rush and do stuff. I thought it felt weird when I was tightening it down. Oh, that feels a lot better. Okay. Tight. Right there. I'm going to take this off. And then I'm going to go do the other side. I don't need to do it on camera. And then we'll come back and show you how we bleed it. So I like to gravity bleed before I start doing regular bleeding. And one thing I didn't show earlier, I need to show. See how easy this caliper moves back and forth. Now I have not pumped the pedal up yet because I don't want to put more air into it than I actually have. So gravity bleeding, make sure your brake fluid is full. Take the cap off. You're going to open the bleeder. Sometimes you have, well, actually, it came out pretty quick on this one. You can probably see the fluid dripping there. There was air bubbles at the very, very top. Tighten that down. Now I know why that came out real quickly, because I just did this whole thing, what I'm doing right now, and I realized my microphone wasn't on. So I was already gravity bleeding anyways. But anyways, I'll open it again. See, there's a little bit of air bubble there at the very beginning of that. And then I'll shut it, and then I'll open it again. Okay, I don't see any more air, so this side is ready to be regular bled, but we gotta go do the other side. So I'm gonna try to carefully and gingerly pick this thing up. Let's see. Yep, it's right on right there. I have not done anything to this side, so you're gonna notice it takes a little while. Let me back you up so the light hopefully gets on there. There we go. All you gotta do is pop it loose. When it's a new caliper, they're easy to pop loose. And you always start at the furthest wheel away when you're bleeding. So since I replaced both front calipers, I start at the right front to start it. So if you had to bleed all 4 wheels, for instance, you'd go right rear, right front, left front. Furthest caliper way, and end at the closest caliper to the master cylinder. See, it's taking a little bit to get any fluid coming out, so I'll open it up a little bit wider. Hope it starts sucking it down out of the master cylinder. There we go. So what I'll do now is I'll close it completely. Okay, and then I'll barely open it, just enough where the fluid starts coming out. Right there, there's a little bit of air pocket there. And I'll shut it again. If I have fluid coming out of my bleeder, that means the caliper is completely full, but there's air in it when you replace your caliper. So, okay, we are ready to start bleeding. I'm gonna have to go get my wife, and I'll show you guys how we bleed. Okay, so I got my wife in the car, and she's gonna be doing the pedal pushing, as we call it. So there's a couple different things you want to watch for. You're gonna want to watch this piston as whoever's pumping your brakes up. As they're pumping it up, watch the piston and make sure it's coming all the way out. And then when they let off the pedal, it starts to go back in, but not all the way. Because I've had pistons brand new like this that I wasn't paying attention. I started bleeding brakes. The piston was coming out, but then going all the way back in. And we couldn't figure out why we didn't have pedal. Ended up being the stupid piston was bad in the brand new caliper. So that's what we're gonna watch that. And then what I want to do when she first starts pumping, I'm gonna watch this brake line and make sure that it's not leaking. So April, go ahead and start pumping all the way down, then all the way back up. You see that piston's coming out?
I got a pedal.
Okay. Does it feel all right?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? Hold it down.
Hold.
There's some air. Nope, some air there.
Down.
Okay, pump it up. And what she's doing, she's pumping it 3 times and then holding it down.
Hold.
And then she does not let up until I tell her.
Down.
Okay, pump it up.
Hold. Down.
Okay, there's no air here. This side is done. Let me find my cap. If I still have it, where did it go? I've got one over in my toolbox I can put on it anyways. Okay, you can let up. I'm gonna go around the other side, bring the viewers with me. Make sure they have a good view. Yeah, they do. Okay. Go ahead and pump it up and hold it.
Hold.
Brake lines look good. Yep, a bunch of air right there.
Down.
Okay, pump it up. And what you do, you don't want to open it really fast.
Pull.
Open it slow and pull it really slow. So I just pull it very slow.
Down.
Okay, pump it up.
Hold. Down.
Up, I got air right there at the very end. Pump it up again.
Hold. Down.
Okay, pump it up and let me know how it feels.
Feels good. Fine.
Feels good. Okay, hold it down. I want to always make sure. Go back over it again. I don't see anything from that line leaking. Keep holding it down. I don't see anything. Okay, this should be good. And the reason that I look at the lines is I've actually had, because these come with new copper sealing rings I showed you earlier in the video, and I've actually had those new ones leak, and I had to use that's why I saved the old ones, and I didn't send them back with the other caliper. I've had the old ones actually let it seal up, so that's why you save that, as geese are flying over. So that's how you bleed the brakes. And what I'm gonna do now is while she's still in there, I'm gonna have her hold the pedal down.
Hold.
And then let off. Okay, that wheel spun. Good, because we were having problems with it hanging up. And I'll go the other side. I'm not gonna take you guys with me. Pump it up and hold it.
Hold.
Off. Okay. And both sides spin freely as soon as she lets off the brake pedal. So I'm gonna get the wheels on here and we're gonna take it for a test drive. All right, we're gonna take it for a test drive now. Back out of my garage. First thing I wanna do when I first start is I hit the pedal a couple times, make sure the pedal feels okay. If you didn't replace the calipers, you're gonna wanna pump your brakes up before you drive it, because otherwise you're gonna put it in reverse and you're gonna take off and you're not gonna have a brake pedal. You don't have to focus on me this whole time. You can focus straight ahead too. But what I'm paying attention to is how the pedal feels. I'm gonna make several abrupt stops, but never come to a complete stop. I wanna get the rotors nice and hot. And then I'm gonna come back and make sure that neither one of the calipers is sticking. You're not paying attention.
You told me not to
That's
focus
okay.
on you the whole time.
Hold it straight. My wife is not much of the camera operator. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get going. Get up about 20 or so, and then we're gonna hit the brakes. Brake pedal feels really good. And then we're not gonna come to a complete stop, and you're gonna take off and do it again. Over and over. What? What's so funny?
The way you're braking?
Well, this is how you do it when you break the brakes in.
I understand that, but I'm not being...
You're not used to it.
No, I'm used to your seat and brakes. I'm talking about the camera in my hand.
Well, pay attention to the camera.
I'm trying.
And this is all there is to it. I'm making sure I don't hear any squealing. I can already smell the brakes starting to break in. And these CarQuest brakes actually have a break-in compound in them. They're the white stripes. I don't know if I showed that earlier, but if I didn't, they have white stripes that's for breaking in. It feels good. I don't hear anything. We're gonna go back to the house and we're gonna check the heat of the rotors. Make sure they're both about the same. And that's not a necessary thing. You don't have to do that. You can look through and visually see the rotors. If one's blue and the other one's not, the one that's blue is the one that's hanging up. Or if one's smoking real bad and the other one's not. That's how you know. Sounds like you might need rear brakes.
He's not going to hear that.
Just trying to listen. Making sure I don't hear anything.
This guy has nothing for selling. You might have had your head cut off a couple times.
That's all right. And be aware, they are going to stink after you break them in. I probably did, what, 7 or 8 good stops there.
Sure.
And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up here. We'll just leave it out here. Don't hit my car, don't hit the truck.
Leave it on.
Yeah. Got a heat gun that I use. And where's my laser at? There it is. Oh, my laser ain't working. About 124. About the highest it got is 124. We'll go over to this side. Yeah, the battery's almost dead. That's why the laser ain't working. $133. That's good. Both sides are working good. So not all brake jobs are the same. We planned on only doing front pads and rotors on that car. When he stopped me on Friday, I went over, I looked at it. The right side had been grinding. So what I did is I walked around the left side. The left side was right there, which typically tells you that's probably just needs pads and rotors. So I said, hey, go pick up some pads and rotors and I'll do this brake job for you on Sunday afternoon when I get out of church. He said, cool. So he went and got the parts. I pull it in here, and as you saw, piston wouldn't go in. At that point, it needed a caliper on the right side. So I called him off camera and told him that I need a caliper on the right side. I said, before we go and get it though, let me take the left side off and make sure that it's okay. And sure enough, the slides and everything worked on the left side. He was over here and he watched me do it and went to push that piston in, and I was cranking down as hard as I could on that tool and it was not going in. So we got 2 new calipers, 2 new rotors, brake pads all, on the front, and he's good to go. Bled the system out, topped the brake fluid off at the end, went out, seated the brakes in. I do 20, 30 mile an hour, hit the brakes kind of hard, get it down to about 5 mile an hour, let off. Don't come to complete stop, because when you come to complete stop, you can warp the rotors when they're that hot. I do that 7 or 8 times, bring it back, let it cool down, check it with the temperature gun, make sure my brakes are okay. If one side is you know, 250 degrees and the other side's only 120, you know that that new caliper's bad. Or if you didn't put calipers on a car and you put brakes on, always come back and check. Look at it. If you don't have a temperature gun, look at it. If one side is blue on your brand new rotor and the other side's not, that side is sticking, you've got something going on, whether it's your caliper, your line, your slides, you didn't get those greased up good, you got rust underneath the brake pad hardware, because that pushes the pad up and doesn't allow the pad to actually move in and out. So just stuff like that. Brake jobs are actually very, very easy to do, and a typical pads and rotors you can do in about an hour. If you've got to put calipers on it, you have to end up bleeding the system. It can take an hour and a half, 2 hours if you have all the pads there with you. And on the garage floor is a little bit more difficult than at work on the lift, but either way, brake jobs aren't that hard to do. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button while you're down there and hit that little bell so every time I upload a video, you get notified, and we will just see you next time.